From lots of golfing to Stormy Daniels. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out about President Trump's most questionable moments. Number 10. Running for president at all. If we're going to do a countdown of all the questionable things that Donald Trump has done, we need to start off with the thing that kicked it all off for these last few years. Him running for president. Now, to be fair, we can't say that we didn't see this coming. It wasn't like he just woke up one day in 2015 and said, "I want to run for president." He actually did this before in 2012. In fact, he got roasted by Comedy Central and admitted that the money he got paid to do the roast was so that it could all be used to fund his campaign. And he did run in 2012, but he pulled out because he felt that his business in the private sector wasn't done. Or just as likely, he didn't poll as highly as he wanted to. But then he took his time, built up more steam, and we all know the result. But that's the real question here. What was his thought process for wanting to run for president? Sure, he's joked about it in the past and said how easy it would be, but I'm talking about motives here. What was he hoping to truly accomplish with him as president? Because, hate it or not, when he finally took the office, he had all the power. The Republican had not only the presidency, but also control of the Senate and House at his beck and call. And yet, nothing happened. Nothing significant anyway. So, was all this a publicity stunt? Was this all to strengthen his brand, or to prove that he could do something that many people said he could never do? Because, in all honesty, he did it. No one had him winning the election, but he did. So credit to him for that, but the rest, not exactly sure what to think about it, Mr. President. Number 9. Government shutdowns for the wall. Let's go from what started this whole thing to one of the more recent things that have drove people crazy, the government shutdowns. Now, to be fair, this has happened in the past, well before Trump's time, including during the Obama administration. So this isn't a Trump did something no one else did situation. Rather, this is a Trump did something drastic to benefit his own cause kind of thing. Because when he finally decided to live up to his promise of building the wall, he found that he wasn't getting the support from the Democrats, who had taken the House at this point in time, and thus he couldn't get it done. So his own mind started to spin, and he felt that the only way to get what he wanted was by getting rid of the government in terms of a shutdown. And as part of the shutdown, he stated that the only way it would get back up and running was for the Democrats to accept his terms on the wall. Talk about an extreme solution, am I right? Anyway, the government shutdown hurt a lot of people in all 50 states. And the timing wasn't good either, because if it had lasted too long, it would have affected tax returns, which I barely got anything from, but hey, that's life. Not to mention many of the large-scale issues that the government is supposed to deal with on a daily basis. And remember, this was all for the wall that was meant to separate Mexico from the United States, which only Trump and his very loyal supporters want. While many Americans don't want it because they think that A, it'll be very expensive, and B, that it might not do what Trump thinks it'll do. Yet, he's bent on getting his way, and so not only did he shut down the government, he's willing to do it again if things don't go in his favor. All I can think of in this moment is, wasn't Mexico supposed to pay for the wall? I heard some loud person say that once. Number 8. You're fired. Before we get into this infamous phrase, take a moment to like this video and join the Zero to Hero community by using the buttons below. There are many, many words that can be used to describe the current situation of the Trump administration. But if you wanted one word to describe Trump and his cabinet, that would be turbulent. Not because when they get together things get a bit shaky, but rather a lot of people in his cabinet or other facilities have been fired since he was inaugurated in 2017. And it should also be stated that many of those fired people are now under investigation for various crimes and infractions, with some of them even already being convicted. Which of course brings into question Trump's ability to hire credible people that can actually do the job without breaking the law. Heck, even hiring credible people would be a start. Granted, there are some people who honestly could do the jobs he hired them for, like Linda McMahon, but then there was the person he hired to run the education department, even though she wasn't qualified in the least. How do you hire someone that can't even do the job they're hired to do? Oh yeah, because it's Trump. What's worse, though, is that he'll fire people just to get them out of his life, like he did with the head of the FBI, which has definitely backfired on Trump. Another thing that he seems to be famous for is for firing people for not being supportive, and then they would go on and write a book about it and reveal just how unstable Trump really is. Something else he didn't like. The purpose of a cabinet in the White House is to have a section of people that you know can do certain jobs to ease the burden on your shoulders while also challenging you to be better than what you are right now. Trump clearly didn't get that memo, because if you're not with him, you're fired. Number 7. Trump on Twitter. Oh yeah, I could spend a whole list talking about just this. When it comes to President Trump, he loves to talk, and most importantly, he loves to talk on a platform that he knows everyone can view him on, which is why he loves Twitter so much. Because in less than 300 characters, he can make his thoughts known in quick succession and then be done with it. The problem is, both before and after his election, a lot of the tweets he makes are either outright lies or meant to damage someone who opposes him, and everyone knows it. Or he'll go into a regular tweet and then do something that he thinks no one will catch, but everyone does. Like when he posted a video about making America great again, which isn't bad in theory, until you listen to the music and see that it's Hans Zimmer's score from The Dark Knight, which Warner Brothers could technically sue for. Trump has a lot of followers, that's for sure, but a lot of people follow him solely so that they can quote him later and bash the president for his antics, like them or not. Here's the biggest irony though. After his victory in the election, he did an interview with 60 Minutes. Trump was calm, rational, thoughtful, and admitted fully that his Twitter practices weren't the best and he'd like to try and fix that. In all honesty, I really wish he would. Number 6. The separation of children from parents. In no world is this a good thing. Trump is so paranoid about illegal immigrants that he's deported many families because they didn't have the proper papers or were indeed illegal. So far did he go in this that he would actually separate children from their parents and put the children in a separate section of the holding area, not to be released back into the world, but to be left there with all the other children. This caused all sorts of outrage, especially when it became clear that Trump really didn't care about the safety of the children or the nonchalantness that he had when he heard that some of the children in custody were dying. Number 5. Stormy Daniels. If there's one thing you can absolutely count on Trump for, it's that his past will eventually catch up with him. And one thing from the past that caught up with him was adult film star Stormy Daniels, who not only came forward to admit that she and Trump had an affair, which again I could go on about for days, but I won't, but that she was paid off to be quiet about it because Trump knew what it would do to his reputation if it was discovered. The battle between the Trump administration and Stormy's lawyers has been a very public one, and it's caused a lot of strife. And I'm sure it's not close to over yet. Number 4. Golfing. I'll keep this one short and sweet. Trump loves to golf, and I say that because he's taken more days of golf in 1 year than President Obama did in his entire time as president. Think about that. Sure, President Trump is allowed to take days off, but he's taken literal months off when you stack all of the golf excursions together. Seriously, Donald, get back to work. Number 3. Melania. Okay, this one isn't necessarily a questionable thing that he did, but what is questionable is how he treats his wife sometimes. You've seen her in the media, either being reserved, quiet, or supporting her husband, but you've also seen her being rigid, sometimes hating to be near Trump, or at least seeming that way to the general public. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but it's clear that this is a marriage that isn't stable at all. Number 2. Kanye. Do I really need to elaborate on this? Donald Trump and Kanye West are somehow friends. And he's invited him to the White House on multiple occasions to hang out. Why? Number 1. Putin. Easily the biggest question mark about Trump's presidency is whether he actually won the presidency at all, because it is almost abundantly clear that Trump had help from Russian hackers who made it seem like Trump won. But does Trump admit this? No. Instead, he goes off on rants and tangents about how he's being framed or insulted and that Russia had nothing to do with it. He's even offered to bring Putin to the White House several times just so that they can have a summit together. Does he not understand how much trouble he's in? Or worse, does he understand and just not care? It's hard to say, and it's just as hard to say what other questionable things he'll be doing in the future, but at least we'll all get to watch it play out on Twitter. What do you think about Trump's presidency? Let us know in the comments below, and take care.